She stopped loving you long before she admitted it. And you felt it, not in what she said, but in what she didn't say. The replies got shorter. The laughs faded. The eyes wandered. And suddenly, you were the only one trying. Every man has that moment where he realizes she isn't yours anymore. She's just someone you used to know. And that's the first rule of emotional detachment. Don't beg for attention that used to be free. When a woman stops loving you, her silence becomes louder than any fight. She doesn't shout. She doesn't warn you. She just pulls away and waits for you to notice. But here's what most men do wrong. They chase. They over-explain. They try to convince her to stay. And every time you try to make her care again, you destroy the little dignity you have left. You don't detach by talking. You detach by shutting the door that she left half open. Let her lose access to you, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. This is where detachment starts. Do not fight for the version of her that no longer exists, because the moment she stops loving you, she also stops seeing you, and a woman who doesn't see you can't value you. Real detachment is quiet. It's not dramatic. It's not emotional. It's not a speech. It's a decision you make inside your head, without announcing it. You stop asking how she feels. You stop checking if she cares. You stop trying to understand why her love changed. You don't need closure if you have clarity. And clarity is simple. If she wanted you, you'd know. If she loved you, you'd feel it. Love doesn't hide. What hurts the most isn't losing her. It's realizing she had already left, and you were the last one to accept it. But there's a power in being the one who finally walks away. Not out of spite. Not to make her jealous. Not to make her chase. But because you finally choose yourself. Most men think detachment is coldness. It's not. Detachment is self-respect. When you stop trying to reopen closed doors, you start seeing new ones. Understand this. Women fall out of love slowly, but they regret quickly. Not immediately. Not when you're begging. Not when you're still available. They regret when you go silent. When you stop reacting. When you stop caring. When you finally feel nothing. Because the truth about detachment is this. She doesn't miss you when you chase. She misses you when you disappear. And that is where part 2 begins. Not with heartbreak, but with the shift from pain to power. But before that shift happens, there's one more truth men never speak about. Detachment doesn't happen overnight. You will replay memories. You will question yourself. You will wonder if you could have done more. But that's just your heart catching up to what your mind already knows. You don't detach to punish her. You detach to heal. You detach to breathe again. You detach so you can feel like a man again, not a replacement. And here's the last quiet realization before a man finally moves. The woman who once made you feel alive can also be the woman who teaches you how to live without her. Detachment begins the moment you stop trying to get a reaction, because reactions are what she feeds on. Attention is validation, and validation is power. Once she feels like she doesn't control your attention anymore, she loses the only leverage she had left. Men don't fall apart because women leave. Men fall apart because they keep holding on to versions of women that don't exist anymore. You're not hurting because she stopped loving you. You're hurting because you're still loving who she used to be. But here's the twist. A woman never expects you to detach first. She expects you to fight for her, to argue, to convince. The moment you do none of that, she doesn't know who she's dealing with anymore. And uncertainty is the one thing that makes women crumble. Silence is expensive. It makes people think. It makes people worry. It makes people imagine scenarios that reality never created. The quieter you become, the louder she hears you. She'll pretend not to care. She act unbothered. She repost quotes about independence and healing. But pay attention to the patterns. Women don't broadcast detachment. They broadcast denial. They hate losing silently. And that's when regret begins. Not when you cry. Not when you confess. But when you vanish. When your goodbye isn't spoken, it's implied. When you stop explaining yourself. When you stop reacting. When you finally accept what she was too afraid to tell you, it was already over. And she just waited for you to make it official. Detachment isn't revenge. Detachment is maturity. It's not about proving her wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The man you become after heartbreak is the man she meets too late. And make no mistakes, she will come back. Not always to love you. Sometimes just to confirm that she still can. Women check in when they sense you've moved on. They test to see if their absence still hurts. They want to know if they still matter. But here's the secret. If you've truly detached, she will feel irrelevant for the first time. Nothing destroys a woman's ego like realizing she is no longer the center of a world that once revolved around her. It's not the breakup that haunts her. It's the replacement. It's knowing someone else now gets the version of you she abandoned. And that's the part no one talks about. The man who detaches doesn't just heal, he evolves. He learns to sit with silence. He learns to choose himself. He learns that love never leaves without teaching something. And sometimes the lesson is simple. The person you wanted the most was the person you needed the least. When you stop chasing her love, something dark happens inside you first. It feels like a small funeral, not for her, but for the version of you that believed love was enough. That version was loyal. That version waited. That version tried to fix things that were already broken. And that version is gone now. What replaces him is colder, smarter, quieter, more controlled. This is the part nobody warns you about. Detachment isn't about becoming numb. It's about upgrading your standards. Because once your heart finally accepts reality, your brain takes over. And your brain sees the truth. If someone truly loved you, they wouldn't make you guess. They wouldn't make you beg. They wouldn't make you compete for attention with silence, ego, and excuses. So now you detach. Not to punish her, but to protect yourself from what you already know. She made her decision a long time before she told you. Women don't fall out of love overnight. They detach slowly, quietly in her mind first, and her actions second. And the day you finally felt her distance, she'd already stopped trying months before. So now it's your turn. You detach by no longer asking, why wasn't I enough? And asking, why did I stay so long after I felt unloved? You detach by replacing fantasy with facts. The fantasy was who she was at the beginning. The facts are who she became at the end. Distant. Distracted. Frustrated. Giving excuses instead of effort. You detach when you stop rewriting her intentions and accept her actions. As the final message, and here's the twist nobody expects, the moment you detach emotionally, she feels it. It's not magic, it's psychology. A woman can sense when a man stops caring. The tone in his voice changes. The way he answers becomes shorter, colder. He stops explaining himself. He stops proving his worth. He stops trying to fix what he didn't break. And ironically, that's when she becomes curious. Because indifference is louder than anger. But don't detach to make her chase. Detach to make you better. The painful truth is this. Loving someone who no longer loves you is disrespect to your own heart. And every time you replay the past, stalk her pages, wonder who's texting her, or scroll her stories for clues, you chain yourself to someone who already walked away in her mind. You detach by no longer being her emotional backup plan, by no longer waiting for closure that will never come, by no longer trying to understand a decision she already made. And one day, without any dramatic moment, you wake up and you just don't care anymore. Not because you're bitter, but because your peace became more important than her attention. That's when the detachment is complete. That's when you win. Because the real power isn't making her regret losing you. It's reaching a point where you don't even think about whether she does or not.